This tutorial should help you get familiar with the game's interface. Clicking on the choices, you'll shape the story and proceed along your adventure. Clicking on the icon above the choice will play its audio. With these arrows, you'll scroll through the longer choices. Click on this button to hide the book. Now click it again to reveal it. Click on the bottom left corner to move the book and the choices. Now click it again. These buttons are to manage the narration's audio. Here, you'll find the icons to manually save the game and to see the amount of fate you have left. Here, you can find the icons to return to the main menu, to see the game's options, and to pause the music and narration. When you return to the main menu, the game is automatically saved to the autosave slot of the campaign. You can customize all the controls from the game options. Now, click on the first choice to begin your story, or click on the other one if you'd rather get to know the game system better. Several years have passed since Leon set out to seek his obsessions. His stubbornness resulted in a war for the conquest of Kael'Sinar. However, he has yet to acquire all the knowledge he needs to dominate the nation, and with time, the entire world. As part of Kael'Sinar has fallen under his heel, the resistance has risen to stop him. The head of the rebels has hidden in the Ismaran forest. He has called for a council to end the war and destruction wreaked by Leon. He is aware that people need a hero to inspire them if he is to gain back the trust that continues to falter day after day. The head of the rebels is none other than Raymond, the wizard who once ruled the Tower of Balinor. He turns to a ranger to search far and wide for the only person who could take on the role of such a hero, the famed Daragast Layar. As Raymond mulls over the desperate situation, he sips a glass of wine in his austere tent. He indulges in a singular, quiet moment before the volunteer for Daragast's search is called inside. And Corin, a young, green-skinned woman, steps up. She's a sylph and an expert tracker. She belongs to a new race, another failed magic experiment. However, instead of isolating herself from the world, she wishes to be part of it, so as to give her life meaning. And Corin wishes for acceptance. She longs to leave behind all the years of abuse and mistreatments. She has joined the resistance, seeking deliverance from her past.
And Corin, I'm glad you've come forward for this mission.
I want to help the cause, Raymond. Sylph replies. Where do you suggest I begin?
The most recent intel we have dates a few years back and comes from 3 different locations. You could try looking in the city of Akma, the forest of Rulath, or in Rost. Unfortunately, we can't tell which are trustworthy.
I'll depart immediately, Corin declares.
I'll be eagerly waiting for your return.
Corin bows to Raymond and takes her leave to start packing for her journey. She needs supplies, weapons, and money. But first, she needs to choose where she's heading. Akma, Rulath Forest, Rost. The walk to Rulath Forest was long, Before you is a dark maze of trees and entangled branches. You'd rather not go into the woods now, as it's evening. But you need to find Daragast as soon as possible, so you wander into the forest. The path unravels between the trees, and as you advance, you hear some wolves howling. You rush forward as the call of the wild beasts grows closer. Finally, you spot a trembling light in the distance. Perhaps the window of a cabin? You hope to get there before the wolves are upon you, but it's too late. 3 pairs of yellow eyes point your way, and you'll have to face them. With woodland predators, the best strategy is to strike first, and quickly. You can't show any fear. You unsheathe your knives with both hands and hurl them in one single fluid movement. You hit the first 2 wolves straight between the eyes. The third beast immediately stops growling, turns tail, and runs. Nature's perils seem to have come to an end, but your ranger's instincts suggest otherwise. Rulath might still have a few surprises in store yet. However, you're also in a hurry to find out who lives in that cabin. You see 2 paths before you. One is a stone road, while the other looks like a beaten track. You close in and study both carefully before deciding which one to take. You may fall into a trap. The stone path is clearly the work of men. The other looks more like the result of animals passing by. Both could be safe, but you never know. The path you've chosen seems to lead away from the cabin. It keeps changing its course. You're afraid you might run into more wolves, or perhaps some other nocturnal creatures. Darkness is falling fast, and even though you're an expert, you'd rather avoid traveling like this. Your perseverance pays off. You almost didn't expect to see the cabin's light again. You've arrived directly on the opposite side. The window lights give away that someone inside is awake. Another howl echoes in the forest. You shiver and quicken your step. You're so close now that if someone opened the door in time, you wouldn't have to face another fight. You approach the cabin and breathe a sigh of relief. As you knock, the door opens on its own. Inside, the light of several candles reflects on hundreds of glass vials, diffusing a red glare. There are so many you can barely count them. An old blind woman sits at the center of the room.
I've been expecting you, Ankoran the Sill.
She whispers with a squawking voice. How do you know my name?
I know many things, and I foresee others. I'm rarely wrong.
Are you a seer?
Yes.
Can you help me? You ask her, your heart racing.
It will cost you 2 golden coins, 1 for each eye.
Without a single word, you place the coins on the table. You've come prepared. I'm looking for a man, a warrior. His name is Daragast Layar.
There is no one with that name.
He's dead then. You shake your head desperately.
That's not what I said.
What do you mean?
You need to ask the right questions.
Where can I find the person who lived by that name?
That's better.
The old woman smiles and continues.
Look for him in Rost.
What's he doing in Rost?
He plays a different instrument, but the song remains the same.
You'd like to ask more questions, but the old lady raises her hand.
Rest on the straw mattress in the back of the room. You'll resume your journey tomorrow morning.
Your instincts suggest not to object, and you go lie down. The following morning, you wake up to find the house deserted, and you feel empty somehow. You resume your path right away. The village is quite rural, and is mainly dwelt in by farmers and shepherds. You have no idea who to look for. The intel you've gathered is scarce. The only thing you have is your man's name. Rost's inhabitants don't seem to fear you, even though your look is definitely out of the ordinary. Perhaps they've seen strange creatures already. You ask a few people for Daragast Layar, but no one can help you. You get to the blacksmith's shed, and a grizzled man with a toned body quickly glances at you. He continues striking at the horseshoe he's working on with his hammer. The metal seems to be singing.
How may I help you?
The blacksmith asks. I'm looking for a man.
Name?
Daragast Layar. The blacksmith nearly loses his grip on the hammer.
He's dead.
Something tips you off, and you continue to press the man. I don't think so. Your reaction speaks volumes. The blacksmith threatens you with his hammer, his eyes flaming.
You'd better listen to me and go back where you came from.
The blacksmith looks down and continues his work.
The man you're looking for left long ago. I don't think he shall ever be back.
He replies evasively. Kael Sinar needs him.
No. The rebels need him. You have no hope.
At least we fight!
And you shall die. Every last one of you.
If Daragast should ever show up, tell him he can find me in the Ismaran forest with Raymond. You turn on your heels and leave without waiting for his reply.
For years now, peace has been reigning over the continent of Hesperia. The feats of ancient heroes, warriors, and magicians will live on as legends and children's bedtime stories. Everything is back to normal. Markets and trades are flourishing, raids of marauders are rare, and brigands have mostly taken to dwell in hidden groves and forests. However, wizards have lost control over their dark experiments. The Tower of Balinor has become the cradle of new races and monstrous creatures. They now roam free in the lands of Kael Sinar and beyond. Leon, a powerful wizard withdrawn to the shadows, belongs to this world. Leon plans to carry out his obscure designs and bring back the darkness of his own past. He had studied at Balinor under the great wizard Raymond until he decided to take his own path. Leon would never forget the people who helped him survive when he was but a boy, age 6, just as he will never forget who took him away from his family, from everyone dear to him, and from his kingdom. Now, he feels the time has come to take everything back. Thanks to his magical talent, he's mastered all of nature's elements, but he has several choices to make. He could expand his powers. The task would set him on the research of the book that would allow him to learn a new type of sorcery bound to blood. His own master had revealed to him the existence of the manuscript. Or he could look for a tomb hiding a crucial artifact, a relic containing the blood of 2 ancient wizards. They both had the power to dominate all 4 of nature's elements, just as he. Of course, he could also recruit some allies. What would be better than befriending a dragon? A hooded figure trudges through the rain, supported by a cane just as tall as him. He has just left the Tower of Balinor and has no intention of turning back. He meditates on his ambitions and craves a new beginning for his life. His heart beats madly as he steps along the path. The dull sky, laden with clouds, mirrors the torment grasping his chest. Leon has a good soul, but he shall bear no limitations to achieve his goals. He faces 3 choices. Leon enters the Rulath Forest, an area that has long served as the home of several outlaws. Reminiscent of his mentor's stories, he remembers that the tomb of Hesperia, the magician who had protected him as a child, should be here. The tomb guards a medallion containing the blood of 2 wizards who, like him, were able to control all 4 elements of nature. He must have it. Thanks to the instructions in the Blood Magic book, he will uncover the secrets that will allow him to fulfill his claim to power. Leon explores the darkest nooks, looking for telltale signs. A shadowy atmosphere surrounds him, as if he were inside a cemetery, or worse, an open-cast crypt. An ill feeling rushes through him, such as he has never felt in his entire life. After wandering for several hours, Leon finds two tombs. They are both just simple mounds of rock, with no apparent markings. However, opening the wrong one might wake up the dead. He examines the tombs more closely and finds a detail he hadn't noticed before. The first tomb seems to have some old, small, clotted blood stains, while the other displays normal signs of wear due to the effects of time. The blood misled Leon. As he moves the first stone, an undead skeleton appears in front of him. He has the beat of one breath to make a decision, and his heart pounds in his chest. Leon, however, is not defeated by fear and invokes his magic. The skeleton crumbles to the ground and dissolves, but a cloud rises from the bones. It takes a screeching and ghostly shape. It's a banshee, a witch of nightmares. A black, torn mantle shrouds the decaying green ghost. It is an irksome foe. Leon needs something to soften the ear-shattering sound of her penetrating cry, but all elements conduct sound. Creating a highly conductive speed barrier might turn her attack back upon the banshee herself. Leon can choose to employ a liquid, solid, or fizzy element. But he must also decide on the temperature at which to summon it. That's the only way he can survive this. He must act quickly to create a barrier around the specter before she unleashes her deadly wail. He needs to anticipate the banshee's strike, which could crush his eardrums and grasp his heart. The wrong choice will lead him straight to his death. The wizard remembers that sound propagates faster through solids at high temperatures. He summons a granite wall encircled by a curtain of fire, which envelops the specter. Her cries are astounding, and Leon falls to the ground, covering his ears. Even though he made the right call, the banshee is overwhelmingly powerful, and he is stunned all the same. As he stands back up, he sees there is no trace of the wall, nor of the specter. Leon is frightened, but he then remembers of Daragos Layar's blood oath sworn on Asperia's tomb. The blood stains on the tomb are a mere consequence. He takes the silver pendant. The medallion is divided into 3 sections. 2 contain red liquid, whereas the third is still empty, ready to receive more blood. Leon must now learn to master this type of magic. He's fascinated and can hardly wait. Leon decides to go after the Book of Blood Magic. He heads northwest for the city of Remagast, close to the border with the cold desert. He might find an old acquaintance there to start issuing his first commands. His journey proceeds smoothly, and after about 1 day, Leon crosses the city gates. His eyes meet a ghastly scene. Remagast is still in ruin. Triumvar Lotanor, the blood wizard who tried to take over Kael'Sanar, had dealt it a harsh blow. Though the wizard was defeated, he had been able to hide away the secrets of his sorcery. Leon had been able to gather such information due to being closely tied to the wizard's story. Their hearts were just as dark. He moves among the alleys of the city, heading to a tavern with a sign so badly faded that the name can no longer be read. He has the feeling that his man might be within those walls. The hall is crowded, and the noise is deafening. Nobody notices his entrance. save for a bald, pale head, which turns to face him. His pointed ears move as if they have a life of their own. Leon recognizes him right away and heads for the elf's table. Good day, Ankalimo.
Good day to you, Leon. What brings you here?
My design is moving forward, declares the wizard with ill-concealed pride.
What do you need me to do?
Head to Snelfos, gather the army, take the city, and ready yourselves to move against Balinor, Leon orders.
Has the time finally come?
Indeed.
What are you going to do?
Asks Ankalimo, intrigued. I will retrieve something which will render us invincible.
No time to lose, then.
We need to act now, declares Leon. Leon indulges in a night of restful sleep to restore his energy. After fleshing out the last details of his plan with Ankalimo, he resumes his journey to the north. First, however, he must carefully choose the enchantments he'll rely on. Triumvar Lotanor was able to bend all of nature's elements to his will, so he needs to be ready for any circumstance. As evening falls, the wolves' howls echo in the ominous landscape. The wizard comes across an imposing jet tower. Searching around the complex, he locates the door with surprising ease. Leon is skeptical. He had expected some sort of magical ploy to be hiding it. Perhaps all of Triumvar's enchantments were lifted upon his death. However, his sixth sense warns him that something isn't quite right. Examining the tower thoroughly, he finds the bones of a mouse. A trap appears to still be operational. Leon studies the corpse closely and analyzes the ground around it. He notices that the bones are broken and the soil seems to be overturned. The wizard must now choose which magic to use to safely enter the tower. The window's shutters are open, and Leon enters the tower effortlessly. The room is pitch black, save for a single glimmer of light that shines on a desk. As Leon takes a step forward, the windows shut abruptly and everything fades to black. A heavy silence looms over the room. The only sound Leon can hear is a dripping noise that grows increasingly louder until it resembles that of a babbling brook. The water soaks Leon's feet, soon rising to his ankles. Even though he can't see anything, he must hurry. Leon feels his way around the room. His magic doesn't work as he'd hoped. Unfortunately, Leon can't see anything in the room and conjures a random enchantment, which doesn't allow him to oppose the element that threatens him. Unluckily for him, the water flow is so abundant that it submerges him far too quickly. He doesn't have another chance to respond. The water completely invades the place, leaving him trapped. This is the end for Leon, who suffers greatly as he drowns. The window's shutters are open, and Leon enters the tower effortlessly. The room is pitch black. His magic doesn't work as he'd hoped. Unfortunately, Leon can't see anything in the room and the window's shutters are open, and Leon enters the tower effortlessly. Searching the room, Leon finds an hourglass on the desk, the only object in the otherwise unadorned chamber. Leon tries to pick it up, but the base is fixed to the desk as a sort of lever device. The movement stops the water flowing in from above, and it starts to drain out through several nozzles that sit along the walls. Meanwhile, a door opens, pointing him towards a long and winding spiral staircase. It leads up to the top of the tower. Leon bolts in as the door shuts behind his back. This time, the room lights up completely. The chamber is circular in shape, and at its center lies a bookstand with a significant tome on top. Closing in, Leon reads the title, Blood Magic. Everything seems easy, perhaps too easy. But Leon has a shut door behind him, and there is no way out. Out of nowhere, a fire elemental appears, ready to jump on the sorcerer. Leon kills the Guardian and takes the book. A secret door opens along the side of the tower, and he steps in. A row of torches lights his path. Even though he can't fathom how any of it is possible, 1,000 thoughts rush through his mind. He has faced many dangers, including death. However, he had done it. The tunnel takes him outside, from where Leon will resume his journey. Without hesitation, Leon decides to head to Laganasan. The cold desert is an inhospitable region inhabited only by outlaws. Its border is marked by an imposing metal fence. No one has ever been able to climb over it. Several barracks are placed along it, evenly spaced, with hosts of soldiers. Each troop is numbered. The changing of the garrison takes place but once a year. A patrol sees Leon and stops him. They warn him against heading across the border alone. Leon tries to pull rank as a sorcerer, meaning to persuade them to let him through. Instead, the soldiers surround him and escort him to the highest ranking officer.
And this is?
The captain inquires.
He wouldn't say.
One of the soldiers replies.
Talk then, or I'll lock you up.
My name is Leon. I'm a wizard of Balinor.
He speaks. What brings you so far from home?
My business is none of your concern.
You arrogant fool. I'll have you whipped before I'll throw you in the cell. Now answer my questions.
The captain of the guards is infuriated, and Leon doesn't like orders. The wizard must now decide whether to submit and start answering, or to attack. Leon is fast, and the soldiers have no time to react. His hands are as quick as his tongue, and he unleashes the spell. Despite the devastating effects on his opponents, he is safe. The sorcerer smugly smirks. The maimed bodies of the foolish men lie on the ground, the smell of blood and guts beginning to taint the stale air of the barracks. Once over the border, Leon explores the area. The ground is black, as if covered by volcanic ashes, and the climate is much colder than that of Kelsinar. Under a matte gray sky, dark sand and desolation goes on as far as the eye can see. Walking his tedious path, he chances upon a lonely traveler. The two spot each other from afar, but do not try to avoid the inevitable encounter. The traveler has scaly skin, and a forked tongue darts in and out of his mouth as if he were a snake. He stops in front of Leon.
Who are you?
He asks. Someone very dangerous if you get in my way. A friend, if you choose to trust me. Your name is... Leon Munar. You may have heard of me. The other doesn't reply. His eyes open wide, and he falls to his knees. Now I recognize you. Your fame and your past precede you. I am Therion, your humble servant. Cautiously, Leon asks him to explain. Everyone knows of the last great wizard able to dominate the elements. What brings you here? I have my reasons. I should kill you for the mere fact you have seen me, but perhaps I won't. Leon's threat sparks fear in Therion, startling him. I am sure you'll find me useful if you spare me. The wizard seems to mull over the plea and decides to test him. I'm looking for the dragon who dwells in these lands. Do not question me, just answer, as I have no time to lose. You need to head north, my lord. You'll find a black hill surrounded by bones. There, you'll find a cave. That's where the reptile lives. No one dares approach it. If you have spoken the truth, wait for me in the city of Snelfos. I'll reward you fairly. If you are lying, however, I will seek you out and I will kill you. How will I cross the border, though? It's under surveillance. Barracks number 7 is empty. After some time, Leon finds the hill surrounded by bones, just as the Snake Man had described it. The glacial cold is in sharp contrast with the burnt color of the dragon's lair. A strange feeling grips Leon's stomach, but he doesn't give in. He knows which way to go. A nauseating smell comes straight from the cave's center. There, he finds a huge reptile, curled up and resting. It is motionless, snoring blissfully. This is the moment of truth. Here, Leon could find a powerful and nearly invincible ally. The wizard decides to step into the cave, and an eye is soon upon him. The dragon rises abruptly, spreading its mighty wings that take up the entire den. It roars and bellows a flame upwards. The dragon is imposing. Next to it, Leon is merely an ant. Its back is covered in scales, while its belly resembles that of a snake, slimy and gross. Leon's gaze follows the coils of fire as they rise. He notices that the hill's ceiling is open to the skies, allowing the creature to come and go as it pleases. A primal fear grips the wizard's heart, but his determination prevails. The situation is critical, and he must act now. The wall of water conjured by Leon shields him from the blast of fire, confusing the dragon. Leon must seize this moment and decide whether to hurl a volley of water blasts at its head to knock it out without wounding it, or to block the movement of its limbs by summoning roots from the ground. Leon's idea isn't a bad one. Despite its size, the animal can no longer move. This allows the wizard to enter the dragon's mind. As he tries this, however, the sorcerer notices that the strength of the beast's paws are allowing it to unravel the cage of roots. He needs to give up on his attempts to overpower the dragon's mind and find another solution quickly. Unfortunately, the dragon sees this coming. Thanks to its sheer size and power, it destroys the elemental by running straight through it. Leon freezes. His sorcery didn't play out as expected, and he's gripped by fear. Unable to keep his bladder in check, a warm stream runs down his leg. The reptile jumps on him and devours him alive. Leon's idea isn't a bad one. Despite its size, the animal can no longer move. This allows the wizard to enter the dragon's mind. As he tries this, however, the sorcerer notices his play succeeds, and the dragon collapses to the ground, exhausted. Leon approaches the reptile and lays a hand on its snorting snout. Leon gathers a state of utmost concentration as he was taught by the wizards of Amare. He exploits his telepathic abilities to sneak into the mind of the now tame beast. He conveys the message that he is a friend who simply needs its help. The dragon is confused, and the wizard manages to flatter it quite easily. Despite its colossal size and devastating power, it is still just a simple-minded animal. Even though Leon has gained control over the dragon, he can't take advantage of all its talents just yet. Therefore, he decides to go back to pursue the other aspects of his plan. Now that he's established a lasting bond, he'll be able to summon the beast to his side whenever he shall want.
You succeeded in your first mission. You tracked down Daragast and returned to the Resistance headquarters. After coming back, you enjoyed some well-deserved time off. Now, both you and Raymond are eagerly awaiting for the warrior bard's arrival. Finally, on a sunny morning, Daragast reaches the village. You can't take your eyes off of him. Despite being a middle-aged man, you find him charming, and his clothes still reveal a toned body ready for action. You decide to make the first move. About time you got here.
Had any doubts?
He replies, half smiling. No, and neither did Raymond.
Good. Would you take me to him?
Of course. You smile back at him, but Daragast evokes conflicting emotions within you. While his presence is reassuring, you can feel how dangerous he could be. Part of you has trouble being at ease around him. You escort Daragast to the largest tent in the village. Inside, a handful of men whisper as they study a map laid out upon the table. As you step in, one of them raises his head, crossing his gaze with the bard.
Raymond,
says Daragast, bowing.
Daragast.
It's the only word he says, and he lets it out as a sigh. You two must have many things to discuss. It would be better leaving you alone. You take your leave as a sign of respect. A nod from the wizard dismisses all the other men who follow you outside. Nobody leaves the surroundings, though. Raymond will be calling for you shortly. Many crucial decisions are to be made, and you will need to be there. As expected, Raymond summons you shortly after. You don't all go back inside. Just 2 wizards, a warrior, and yourself. You are the Resistance's advisors, and as such, take part in every meeting. As you sit, Raymond starts talking with the authority he deserves, directly addressing Daragast.
We need your help. Your presence here restores our souls, but it's not just that. You could help us find new allies to plan an offensive strike against Leon. Your opinion and your support are pivotal to us.
Raymond is desperate. He has no idea how to proceed. He can't figure out how to stop his former student.
You're talking to a man who can't do anything more than brandish a rapier against common enemies. Ghosts of the past are a completely different story. That sylph Ancorin is really good. She could certainly do better than me.
Your reaction to the unexpected praise is an ill-concealed sneer.
And Corin's abilities indeed make her a precious asset, but in a different way. Each one of us is essential to the cause. As you accepted our summons, well, I believe you might want to help us.
Raymond replies.
Of course. Choosing where to start from is a challenge. Only 3 people might help us. An assassin, a bard, and a former outlaw. You already know 2 of them.
We'll need the help and experience of all 3.
The wizard replies.
Perfect. I'll leave first thing tomorrow morning.
It looks like the time has already come for Daragast, your new ally, to make some choices that will impact the Resistance's future. You could potentially intervene to try and find out a bit more about the 3 men the Bard will try to recruit.
The Bard's name is Balgor Oriar. He is a Taboshi who can gather information in unusual places, often with equally unlikely methods. He travels the world on behalf of his sovereign. The assassin is Ulist Orantor, a dear friend of mine. We were both mercenaries, and he was with me when I fought Triumvar Lotanor. We protected Leon together. And as for the outlaw, I'm actually surprised he hasn't already joined your cause. His name is Karkas. He's a big guy and a natural-born fighter, maybe even one of the best in the whole world.
None of these names mean anything to you. You'd like to help Daragast make his decision, but because you can't be of any assistance to him, you wait for him to decide on his own, instead of unhelpfully stepping in. You watch as Raymond and Daragast discuss the matter. The warrior bard must make an important decision regarding his own destiny, and you don't want to interfere. You admire him, even though you don't really understand why. He's fascinating, even though he's much older than you are. Besides, you're a sylph and he's a human. You shake your head to get rid of these awkward thoughts and focus on the present.
You'll also get something else.
Raymond adds, after silently watching your exchange. As he catches everyone's attention, you wonder what he has in store. Raymond heads to a large wooden ottoman you hadn't noticed yet. Carefully, he takes a key hanging from his neck that had been hidden under his clothes. He turns it in the lock and opens the lid. From within, he takes a bundle of rolled fabric, long and thin. Raymond lays the package on the table. Everyone's eyes are attracted to it, even those who just stand there without saying a word.
It looks like a sword,
Whispers the warrior.
How insightful!
Replies one of the wizards caustically. You let the 3 taunt each other. They're just innocent jibes. However, as Raymond unties the bundle, a beautiful rapier is revealed and everyone goes silent. 4 differently colored gems decorate the hilt. The first one is brown, representing the power of earth. The others are red, for fire, blue, recalling the strength of water, and finally, a colorless jewel embodies the power of air. The 4 magic stones protect the sword's bearer, but they may do much more. You've heard of the rapier many times, but you never thought you'd see it with your own 2 eyes.
The Sword of Ruin.
Daragast murmurs.
Precisely.
Replies Raymond. Everyone is quiet, dumbfounded, even daunted. Even you can't speak. You feel as if your tongue is stuck to your palate. That weapon could be extremely dangerous in the wrong hands, and you had no idea Raymond had it. He's entrusting it to Daragast, and you wonder how it could play out.
How did you get it?
Questions the bard.
I seized it after the destruction of the Tower of Balinor. It's a long story and there's no time now. Just know that I got lucky, and that this is our only hope against Leon. Today, like many years ago, it's up to you to carry it.
Daragast reaches out with a hand, accepting the rapier, and straps it to his side. The meeting proceeds, and you update the newest member on the Resistance's situation. Finally, as everyone is leaving, you offer to take Daragast to his tent. You've been attracted to him since your first encounter, which is something you've never experienced before. It doesn't matter to you that he's not in his prime. He's fascinating, and his experience is as precious as youth. You're torn. You'd like to be bold, but you're afraid to get burnt by a man who is just about to leave. You must be tired. You'll want to rest a bit. You test your ground, anxiously waiting for his reaction.
We could keep talking inside.
He gets straight to the point. Even though you'd hoped he'd say that, the spontaneous gesture almost catches you off guard, stealing you a smile. Why not? As he lifts up the tense flap, you go in before him. It will be a long, busy night. His lodging has a few blankets folded up in a corner, a table with some clean water for washing, and a small cabinet with drinks and glasses.
Drink something?
He asks kindly. You gladly accept. Daragast fills 2 glasses with red wine and hands you one of them as the cups clink. I grew up hearing stories of your youth, the feats of the strongest warrior in Hesperia. Would you tell me some more? A shadow stains Daragast's face. He wasn't expecting the conversation to turn out like this. However, he immediately shakes it off.
Come, let's sit.
You nod as he opens the blankets. There, you both sit, glasses in hand.
I traveled a lot, and my past has been less than pleasant. Full of blood. I was a gladiator in the arenas. Friendly skirmishes at first, but then I was forced to fight in death matches. I'm not proud of everything I've done. My life changed when I lost my wife.
Daragast pauses briefly, but you would like to know more. You were married?
Yes, but she left me for another man. I found out he beat her, and when he crossed the line, I made him pay. She died, but I took his life.
Silence looms over both of you for a while. You know all too well how reminiscing about the past can hurt.
How about you? It's your turn now.
Daragast says, before taking another sip from his glass. I was born in a village close to Balinor. I lived there until my family sold me off to a group of wizards. My parents were poor, and they had hoped that could give me a better chance in life. They couldn't have imagined what they would have done to me later. They were experimenters, outlaws for their very order. They operated on children secretly to create new races and to study the effects of magic. Their intent was to mutate living beings. So, here I am. Silence falls over the two of you once again, only this time, it has a different quality to it. Intimacy envelops you, as if in an enchanted cocoon. You lower your head to the glass, but are not thirsty. Daragast leans in closer and hugs you. His gesture is sweet and spontaneous, but the warmth of his body is an irresistible temptation. Finally, the moment reaches its climax. You look at each other for a moment, and to both your heart's agreement, you kiss and allow passion to take over. You wake up in a tent that isn't yours. The blanket next to you is empty. You slept so well that you didn't even hear Daragast leave. The sun is already high in the sky, and your bard has already left for his mission. You wonder if you'll ever see him again. Anyway, your heart has a new hope now. You go to see Raymond, expecting to be assigned a new task. Now that the situation is moving along, you don't want to be left sitting on your hands. Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally. I was waiting for you.
He starts, smiling at you. Sorry, I was more tired than I thought.
Not a problem. Come, I have an important assignment for you. You'll have to choose our first move. We need allies. We won't win this war on our own. Close to the Amarantar border, to the southeast, some new creatures have founded their colonies. They fled there after our deplorable experiments at Balinor. Northeast, on the other hand, close to the Tibosh border, you'll find a sylph dwelling. I need one of them to embrace our cause. You'll have to come back with a new alliance.
Why not both?
I doubt we'll have the time.
You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast horse and grab your trusty bow, a knife, and a short sword and leave immediately. You try to avoid the bigger cities, but the road takes you back to your past. Avoiding the places where you grew up proves impossible. It's almost evening, and even though your destination is close by, you stop at a remote village. Some extra information could come in handy. As you enter an inn, the bystanders are strangely not surprised by a creature such as yourself. The sylph colony must be close by, that's probably why they're so tolerant. Sitting at the bar, you order a drink and are approached by a man. He stares at you, slack-jawed, and you recognize him. Mifford, what are you doing here? You cry out in surprise.
And Corin!
You hug as all the other customers go on about their business. You're both happy to meet again. You were childhood friends, but whereas he's still a human, your fate was different.
I'm heading to Faust. I need to get my daughter back.
Mifford tells you. You cloud. A daughter? You didn't realize so much time has gone by. Why? Is she staying with her mother?
If only. A group of Tiboshi ravagers came by our village and destroyed it. They took all our children and killed all the elders, as well as the few men who weren't too far off in the woods working. It was a sudden attack, even though the women might think otherwise.
Mifford falls silent and lowers his head, and begins to sob frantically. You avoid further questions. Even though you are extremely sorry for your friend, you have an urgent task at hand. Mifford didn't ask for anything. Helping him or not is up to you. I'll come with you. We'll take your daughter back. His desperation turns into hope.
You would?
You nod and look straight into his eyes.
Thank you, Ancorin.
Did you come alone? You ask. He shakes his head and points at a table with 4 men.
They are with me.
Good. You smile, though there's no happiness on your face. You look like a nice team. Now time is of the essence. Why are you sure they're headed to Faust?
That's where they mine the metals they use to make their weapons.
Mifford is right. He introduces you to the other men, and you get acquainted with them. You talk with Mifford's friends and decide to leave immediately to exploit the element of surprise through the darkness. The 4 comrades have no problem relating with you. They accept your help, no questions asked. All of them have lost their wives and children. The Ravagers are way ahead, and Faust is still a whole day's walk away. You think the Tiboshi might have made camp and you could attack in the night. You're all tired, but the love for the people who've been taken and the longing for justice are great incentives. Moving towards Faust after a couple of hours walking, you see a glimmer in the distance. It's a campfire. You strain your ears to listen in. Some men are shouting. There might be some guards, but you doubt they're too cautious. The coarse camp highlights a cocky attitude. The situation could be solved quickly, but you need to choose wisely. Your partners don't have any tactical experience, while you've already been on several missions. You need to assess several factors. It is night, and the only light source is the Tiboshi campfire, thanks to which you are able to distinguish several profiles. The prisoners should also be there, but they may have already been put to sleep or tied away from the fire. You need to be shrewd and resolute. You stop to consider the options.
Let's charge those bastards and kill them all. We got horses. We have the upper hand.
The others seem to agree, but they're waiting for your decision. They trust you and won't make a move without your order. You have a huge responsibility. The lives of innocent children depend on you. We can't charge. The children would die. Wait here. I'll go alone. Trust me. Your comrades exchange some uncertain glances, talking to each other. They'd like to help with the rescue. You understand how they're feeling, but manage to convince them that it'd be easier to go unnoticed if you move alone. You move in, as your ranger instinct suggests. Using darkness to your advantage, you stealthily approach the camp, walking around the Ravagers unnoticed, rather than going straight for them. You'll unsheath your knife at the last possible moment. The fire's light might reflect on the blade, giving away your presence. As you get close enough, you act. There are 5 men around the fire, and many bundles of blankets. The children are sleeping. It's your moment. You unsheath your knife and jump on the Tiboshi like a hurricane. You cut the throat of the first 2 without them even noticing. Blood spurts everywhere as the other 3 try to stand up. You kick the closest one in the face, throwing him to the ground before he can grab his weapon. Meanwhile, you punch another straight to the groin. The last man standing tries to flee, but you hurl your knife, which lands straight between his shoulder blades. The noise wakes up the children. Still dizzy with sleep, they shake as they see all the blood in addition to a green-skinned sylph. However, the parents soon run to them, and you enjoy the show. Happiness is on everyone's face as they hug their children. You bury the bodies and rest before the morn, when you'll part your ways. You've been traveling for a while now. The sun is already high in the sky, and there's a lot of road behind you. Your destination is straight ahead, and you gather your energy to complete the mission. You may be a sylph, but your feminine side isn't resting. Strength, frailty, determination, and peril, they all dwell within you. You don't know what to expect, but you must find the allies you're looking for, and you'll have to make a decision based on the situations that will arise. You sigh, and move forward on your steed. A clearing opens in front of you. Your next step will lead to a life filled with surprises, joys, and hardships. Your journey continues with one goal: to track down the sylph community Raymond told you about. You proceed for about a half a day until an arch of wooded hills appears on the horizon. A stream runs along the soft slopes, and you figure it could be the right place for the settlement you're looking for. You proceed with caution, keeping your eyes wide open. Catching a glimpse of something moving along the vegetation, you figure you're not alone. A troop of sentries reveals themselves from the trees, keeping you in their crosshairs. You raise your hands. Their skin is as green as yours. An unarmed sylph approaches you. They outnumber you and have no reason to feel threatened.
Who are you?
I'm Ancorin. I come in peace.
You're a bit too armed to come in peace. What do you want?
I'm an envoy for the Resistance. We need your help. Your questioner snorts and curses.
The Resistance is led by a wizard, and we don't like wizards. Why did you get involved?
Many new races joined the Resistance to oppose Leon's advance. Please, we need you. The sylph carefully weighs your words.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
The troop escorts you to their camp, built around a clearing in the middle of the forest. The whole community gathers there, living in huts built on trees. They are all women. After all, your race can't reproduce as it's exclusively made up of women. The sylphs have some doubts about you, but they welcome their kin. The woman who brought you there speaks to 2 elder women, who you suppose are the leaders of the community.
My name is Jamalin. I am the military commander. I present to you our sages, Adelina and Kalina. They're our guides. They've been waiting for your arrival. Our future and that of the whole world will depend on their decision. However, you must answer a question first. If you get it wrong, you'll go to the realm of the dead.
The events have taken an unfortunate turn. You need to get out of this. Is it the only way? I haven't come with hostile intentions.
It doesn't matter. If you'll show us your wits, you'll earn our trust. If you refuse to answer the question, you'll die. If you answer incorrectly, you'll die. This is how we decide who's worthy of our trust. This is how the wizards created us. We make no exceptions.
Raymond put you in one of the toughest positions of your life, but you need to withstand the clan's rules if you want to achieve your mission. All right then. Ask away. One of the elders steps up. Her skin looks like that of a 30-year-old woman, yet she's considered a veteran. Time goes by faster for new races. Your life expectancy is much shorter. I am Atalina, and this is my question. My life can last but a few hours. I am devoured by fruit. Thin, I'm fast. Thick, I'm slow. And wind doth scare me. Who am I? Answer or die? You pick at your brain, but only a few answers come to mind. Still, you need to give it a shot. That is correct, child. Adelina sentences, smiling. So, now we decide who shall follow you. However, we must first ask you something else. I hope my life isn't on the line again. You reply, piqued. No, but what will reveal to you concerns your life and your past. Choosing the path to take will then be up to you. So be it. It's the other sylph's turn. She looks deep in your eyes. Like Adelina, she's young as well. Will you feel as old when you're 30?
I am Kalina, and this is my question. My father sings. My mother stutters. My cloth is white. My heart's of gold. Who am I? Answer, and I shall reveal to you the secrets of your past. That is correct, child,
says Kalina, smiling. What do you know of my past? You can hardly wait any longer.
All in good time. Now follow Jamalin. She'll take you to your lodging. Rest. We'll talk tomorrow.
Complaining won't help. You follow the sylph who assigns you a hut. You don't know how to behave. You've lived among men while these creatures hid from the world, making one of their own. You hope tomorrow may bring good news. You wake up late in the morning, but nobody came in to wake you. You rested well on the hay bed. The small hut hugs the trunk of an old oak tree. You have a bucket of water to wash and a clean change of clothes. You get ready, taking advantage of the hospitality you've been shown. When you leave the hut, you notice the two elders standing at the center of the clearing. It looks like they're waiting for you. This whole situation is strange and somewhat exciting. It's almost as if you feel at home. You approach them to greet them.
Good day, child. Are you ready?
Kalina smiles, greeting you. Yes, you answer, determined.
As you know, we sylphs aren't part of the natural world. We've been created through magic. Horrifying experiments have violated our bodies. Many of us were but children. Raymond, the highest wizard of Balinor, allowed it. He didn't expect his adepts to abuse their powers. He banned and put an end to the experiments as soon as he found out, but it was too late. His ward, Leon Munar, turned his back on him and looked for all the wizards who had sullied themselves with such heinous crimes. An irreconcilable fracture split them apart because of this, and Leon was banished. Leon left the Tower of Balinor, but he understood he could never destroy everyone responsible for these horrors. However, he became enthralled with the idea of establishing his dominion over Kael'Sanar and taking back his birthland. So he undertook a path of magical research. Everyone fears him, but is he really so evil? Are his goals really so mad? Or would he just want to establish order and justice?
These revelations astound you. You wonder how the sylphs could know this background, and whether they're trying to manipulate you. You can't fathom how Raymond would want to recruit them at the risk of revealing such compromising facts. Questions keep rushing through your head. We believe that, at first, Leon's goals were honorable and honest. However, he's gotten lost. Partly his aims have changed. As sylphs, we believe justice must be served. We are looking for all the outcast wizards, to kill them and bring order back to this world. Adelina continues. You ponder on what you've just heard, but you have your doubts. How do you know who they are? Adelina smiles at you disarmingly. The answer is that obvious. The only innocent wizards are with Raymond, in the Resistance. All the others have either died or are on the run. In any case, the highest wizard marked them before they were banished. Their mark is unmistakable. They have 6 diagonal slashes on their cheeks, 3 on each side. Besides, Raymond had made a list of their names, which we now have. We only need 4 more to finish. You have 1,000 questions you'd like to ask, but Adelina doesn't give you the chance. Now, will you join us to hunt down these depraved wizards, or would you rather keep helping the Resistance against Leon? You feel overwhelmed. The sylphs offered you so much information, but still they haven't told you anything about your past. I'm a sylph too, but how does this have anything to do with me?
One of the 4 banished wizards is the one who created you.
Kalina replies. Daragast is important to you. Helping the sylphs would mean you won't be by his side in the final battle against Leon, and that you'd probably never see him again. Your choice is harder than ever. Well, I have to stay and help you out in destroying the last banished wizards. We are happy to have you, child, Adelina comments.
Are you ready for your first mission?
Kalina asks. You didn't expect you'd be leaving so soon, but you're not the type to take a step back.
We've found where one of them is hiding out.
Tell me where he is and I'll smoke him out, you answer, determined.
He's hiding in Zagama, the capital of T-Bosch. He's still practicing the dark art of experimenting with magic on animals. He sells mutant beasts to the best bidders. He left Kael'Sanar, but he didn't hide his tracks too well. Taking him down will be hard, but you can do it. His name is Sumai, and I'll tell you right now, he is not the one who turned you into a sylph.
Kalina explains. I'll leave as soon as possible. One more thing. As proof of his death, you need to bring us the tip of his broken staff, Adelina adds. I shall. You bow down to the 2 elders and then take your leave. You have a new goal. You're determined to do anything you can to achieve this mission. Your decision wasn't easy, though, and this unexpected route is a bit confusing. However, the Resistance can deal without you. Raymond has Daragast the snake, and despite your being sorry about it, what they do from now on isn't any of your business. You cross the T-Bosch border and ride on for several days. You keep pondering on the past and the weight of your own choices. Raymond, Daragast the snake, and the Resistance are no longer your priorities. You want justice for all the pain you've lived through. Sumai is on the top of your list now. You don't know what type of magic you'll need yet, but the Elders revealed he experiments on animals. You already have a bit of an advantage. You'll need to find out much more before you face him. It'll take time and cunning. Suddenly, a bird's cry distracts you from your thoughts. It's deafening in the clear sky, and you pull at your horse's reins. Something is flying towards you at high speed, becoming bigger and bigger. It looks like an eagle, but it's much larger. You're in trouble. You drive your heels into your horse's flanks, spurring him into a gallop toward a scrub of trees. It would be a perfect shelter, and you should manage to get there easily. Otherwise, you could try a preemptive attack with your bow. The target is huge and easy to hit, but it's high in the sky and you're riding. You need to act now. You're bold to the point of absurdity. You think you can make it, but you're wrong. You need to take your bow, knock in the arrow, and aim it at the creature and try to hit it. You lose balance and fall ruinously to the ground. The arrow is lost in the air. You should have been more realistic. You gave in to your dreams of heroism and grandeur. No one, not even Daragast the snake, could have managed a hit like that. You can vaguely see that the beast has a lion's body and the wings and the beak of an eagle. It grabs you with its talons and takes you high above. You don't have the time nor the strength to fight that grip. Your fall compromised your ability to react. You reach a dizzying height when the monster suddenly lets you fall. The ground comes at you, and everything turns dark. You wake up in a tent that isn't yours. The blanket next to you is empty. Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally, I was waiting for you.
He starts, smiling at you. You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast horse and grab your trusty... I'll come with you. We'll take your daughter back. You talk with Mifford's friends and decide to leave immediately to exploit the element of surprise through the darkness. We can't charge. The children would die. Wait here. You've been traveling for a while now. The sun is already high. Your journey continues with one goal: to track down the Sylph community Raymond told you about. That is correct, child. Adelina sentences, smiling.
That is correct, child,
says Kalina, smiling. You wake up late in the morning, but nobody came in to wake you. You rested well on the hay bed. Well, I have to stay and help you out in destroying the last bed. You cross the T-Bosch border and ride on for several days. Your steed runs to the trees, quickly covering the distance. You barely made it in time. The giant eagle missed you, only for a few paces. Safe in the trees, you dismount your horse and tie it to a trunk. You study the creature that's attacking you as it keeps crying its terrible shriek. It has the wings and beak of a gargantuan eagle, but the body is that of a lion. The creature should be a threat on the ground, too. As a matter of fact, after gliding around the trees a couple of times, it lays its paws on the ground. It folds its wings on its back, and heads for you. You can't run, but you could attack with your bow to keep it at bay. Or you could engage in a face-to-face fight to wound it with your short sword. You take the bow from the saddle and stick some arrows in the ground in front of you. You knock the first arrow, letting it fly against the monster. Without even checking to see if you hit it, you let another loose instantly. The creature cries out louder. Both arrows hit their mark. The first one pierced a paw. The second one hit its flank, pinning a wing to its back. The creature is furious and pounces on you, trampling over bushes, branches, and shrubs. You could release another arrow, or unsheath your sword to rip the beast's gut open as it jumps on you. You let the bow go and crouch down, ready to face the beast. As you thought, the creature jumps. It's about to pounce on you, but you rotate against it, raising your sword, keeping it with both hands. The blade penetrates deep into the animal's flesh, killing it with its own momentum. You stand back up, marvelously unscathed. Maybe the creature was simply hungry. You feel sorry for killing it, but you had no choice. And now you resume your journey. The journey was long, but simple. Despite a few rainy days, you didn't struggle much. You avoided outlaws and other dangerous creatures. Finally, you reach the gates of Zagama, where weapons and battle contraptions are made. The sylphs revealed to you that Sumai, one of the 4 wizards banished by Raymond, lives here. You have no idea what his powers might be, so you'll need to be careful. At the gates, the sentries stop you and ask why you're visiting. You tell them you're in Zagama for business, and they let you go. The city is black due to all its jet buildings. It's dark yet fascinating, unique. The town teems with busy passers-by. You tighten your grip on your satchel. You wouldn't want some scoundrel to take what little you have. People of all races roam the city streets, and nobody cares for their looks. This plays out in your favor. Now, you need to find the wizard. You need to hear the right people, or hone your sight, keeping in mind the sylph's suggestions. You walk to the highest area of the city. Passers-by look at you suspiciously, and a pair of guards stops you, noticing your shabby look. After such a long trip, you should have freshened up a bit before entering the nobles' district.
What are you looking for, dear?
The soldier asks. I'm looking for Sumai, the wizard. You think there's no reason to lie. The guard glances at his partner, visibly surprised. They know Sumai, maybe even fear him.
What could a girl like you want from a man like him?
My business is none of your concern, you reply angrily.
Well then, take your nice ass to the farms. You might be able to tend to your private business with the wizard there.
The 2 guards are daring you to speak back. But you won't start a brawl for a coarse remark. After all, you did get what you were looking for, so you head to the farms. They can watch your nice ass for all you care. The stables are huge, surrounded by fences several feet high. They're made of armored wood to keep busybodies from snooping around. You figure out right away that you're in the right place. Armed patrols keep watch of the perimeter. They have their eyes on you. But you're not the only one looking into the area. Other people are interested in Sumai's goods. You're just one of many. The guards are organized in well-armed garrisons. An all-out attack would be suicidal. However, you need to get to the wizard and lure him in a private meeting. You could pass as a merchant, maybe an old friend from Balinor. Why not a witch? Maybe you could even pretend to be an envoy from Leon Munar. After all, he is preparing a war and could very well have sent you in his stead. You approach a guard as you carefully think of your next move. Sumai knows both Balinor and Leon, and could easily expose you if you tried one of those disguises. Would he buy it if you introduced yourself as a merchant? My name is Ankoran. I come from Balinor. I'm an old friend of Sumai. I'd like to talk to him, privately. The guard studies you head to toe, and heads through a door at his back without saying one word. You wait for him to come back.
Follow me.
Thinking your disguise worked, you follow him. Why would Sumai hear you otherwise? You walk through the door and find yourself face to face with a man in a brown tunic, wielding a wooden staff. He has a white mane and a long matching beard, long enough to almost touch the floor. He looks like the picture of wizards in children's fairy tale books.
My dear old friend.
Sumai welcomes you with an oily smile. Sumai, my friend. You indulge him, but the wizard's face clouds up instantly.
Kill her.
The wizard's bodyguard was still behind you and stabs you in the back with his blade, ripping your life away. Your little lie might have deceived the guard, but certainly not Sumai. He remembers his friends from Balinor. You've been foolish. The time has come for you to die. You wake up in a tent that isn't yours, the blanket next to you. Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally, I was waiting for you.
He starts. You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast. I'll come with you. We'll take your daughter back. His desperation turns into hope. You talk with Mifford's friends and decide to leave immediately to exploit the element of surprise through the darkness. We can't charge. The children would die. Wait here. I'll go alone. You've been traveling for a while now. The sun is already high in the sky. Your journey continues with one goal: to track down the Sylph community Raymond told you about. That is correct, child. Adelina sentences, smiling.
That is correct, child,
Says Kalina, smiling. You wake up late in the morning, but nobody came in to wake you. You rested well on the hay bed. The small hut. Well, I have to stay and help you out in destroying the last banished. You cross the T-Bosch border and ride on for several days. Your steed runs to the trees, quickly covering the distance. You barely made it in time. You take the bow from the saddle and stick some arrows in the ground in front of you. You knock the first arrow. You let the bow go and crouch down, ready to face. The journey was long, but simple. Despite a few rainy days, you didn't struggle. The stables are huge, surrounded by fences several feet high. My name is Ankoran. I come from Kael'Sinar and I'm here for business. I'd like to talk with Sumai. I might have an interest in his products. I'd like to see him in private. The guard studies you head to toe and heads through a door at his back without saying one word. You wait for him to come back.
Follow me.
Thinking your disguise worked, you follow him. Why would Sumai hear you otherwise? You walk through the door and find yourself face to face with a man in a brown tunic, wielding a wooden staff. He has a white mane and a long matching beard, long enough to almost touch the floor. He looks like the picture of wizards in children's fairy tale books.
A sylph, nonetheless. What brings you here?
Sumai asks, skipping introductions. His question is straightforward. Could you do the same? Will you make up an excuse to be alone with him, or try to buy some time? I need to examine your livestock and see if any of the animals might be of interest for my cause. Then, I'll make you a bid. The wizard shakes his head, bitterly. Something's wrong.
And what would your cause be?
You need to be more careful than ever. You could tell him you're a member of the Resistance, masking the lie with a half-truth. Or, you could say you're doing business with Leon. Nothing else comes to mind. I'm a member of the Resistance. I need any resource I can get my hands on to destroy Leon Munar. Sumai's expression says it all. You've got your answer wrong. Don't you remember what the sylphs told you? Raymond banished wizards like him. You gave away your intentions, but it's too late.
Kill her!
The wizard orders the guard. You wake up in a tent that isn't yours, the blanket next to you. Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally, I was waiting for you.
He starts, smiling at you. You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast horse. I'll come with you. We'll take your daughter back. You talk with Mifford's friends and decide to leave immediately to exploit the element of surprise through the darkness. We can't charge. The children would die. Wait here. You've been traveling for a while now. The sun is already high. Your journey continues with one goal. To track down the sylph community Raymond told you about. That is correct, child. Adelina sentences, smiling.
That is correct, child,
Says Kalina. You wake up late in the morning, but nobody came in to wake you. You rested well on the hay bed. Well, I have to stay and help you out in destroying the last banished wizards. You cross the T-Bosch border and ride on for several days. Your steed runs to the trees, quickly covering the distance. You barely made it in time. You take the bow from the saddle and stick some arrows in the ground in front of you. You knock the first arrow. You let the bow go and crouch down, ready to face the beast. The journey was long, but simple, despite a few rainy days. The stables are huge, surrounded by fences several feet. My name is Ankoran. I come from Kael'Sinar and I'm here for business. I need to examine your livestock and see if any of the animals might be of interest for my I'm looking for beasts to take to Kael'Sinar. Lord Munar is interested in buying interesting specimens. The wizard was expecting such an answer, and sneers. You were wrong even before you told this last lie. Sumai knows both Leon and Raymond. He was just curious to know how far you'd go.
See, my dear, I know for a fact Leon doesn't need these creatures. Your attempt at deception is pathetic. Kill her!
The soldier who escorted you in is still behind you. You wake up in a tent that isn't yours, the blanket next to you. Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally, I was waiting for you.
He starts. You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast? I'll come with you. We'll take your daughter back. His death. You talk with Mifford's friends and decide to leave immediately to exploit the element of surprise through the darkness. We can't charge. The children would die. Wait here. You've been traveling for a while now. The sun is already... Your journey continues with one goal. To track down the Sylph community Raymond told you about. That is correct, child. Adelina sentences, smiling.
That is correct, child,
Says Kalina. You wake up late in the morning, but nobody came in to wake you. You rested well on the hay bed. Well, I have to stay and help you out in destroying the last banished wizard. You cross the T-Bosch border and ride on for several days. Your steed runs to the trees, quickly covering the distance. You barely made it in time. You take the bow from the saddle and stick some arrows in the ground in front of you. You let the bow go and crouch down, ready to face the beast. The journey was long, but simple. Despite a few rainy days, you didn't... The stables are huge, surrounded by fences several feet high. My name is Ankorin. I'm here on behalf of Emperor Munar. Tell Sumai I'm here, and I wish to You wake up in a tent that isn't yours. The blanket next to you is... Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally, I was waiting for you.
He starts. You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast? I'll come with you. We'll take your daughter back. His desk. You talk with Mifford's friends and decide to leave immediately to exploit the element of surprise through the... We can't charge. The children would die. Wait here. I'll go alone. You've been traveling for a while now. The sun is already high. Your journey continues with one goal. To track down the Sylph community Raymond told you about. That is correct, child. Adelina sentences, smiling.
That is correct, child,
Says Kalina. You wake up late in the morning, but nobody came in to wake you. You rested well on the hay bed. Well, I have to stay and help you out in destroying the last. You cross the T-Bosch border and ride on for several days. Your steed runs to the trees, quickly covering the distance. You take the bow from the saddle and stick some arrows in the ground in front of you. You let the bow go and crouch down, ready to face the beast. The journey was long, but simple. Despite a few rainy days, you didn't... A massive complex breathes out coils of black smoke, emanating a remarkable heat throughout all the streets. It's actually one of the most important smithies in the city, which deals in weapons. You decide that starting your research from an armory may be a good idea. A beefy man with a pointy face greets you. His black eyes are somewhat menacing, and his thick black beard confers him an experienced look.
What are you looking for, honey?
He's kinder than you thought. I'm looking for someone. I heard he should be in town.
And who would you be looking for?
A wizard, Sumai. The man pales and takes one step back, visibly afraid.
You shouldn't go around looking for that sort of people, girl. Not if you care to live.
I'm just looking to close a deal. I don't want any trouble.
Whoever deals with Sumai always stands to lose something.
He raises an arm, showing you a stub where his right hand should be. You didn't notice it earlier. It upsets you. Still, you're determined and want to achieve your mission. I'll take my chances.
Go on then. You'll probably find him at the farms. He deals with animals.
Without adding another word, he turns his back on you and leaves. Now you remember. The sylphs did tell you that Sumai still deals in magic experiments on animals, so you head to the farms. The stables are huge, surrounded by fences several feet high. My name is Ankoran. I come from Kael'Sinar and I'm here for business. Dismiss this guard and let's discuss business privately. You are a guest in his house, but you want to be clear that you won't be deceived easily. Sumai is dangerous. He doesn't need further protection.
Very well, girl. You passed my first test. The only way to deal with me is eye to eye.
He nods at the guard, who takes his leave.
Follow me.
You can accept or decline the invite. If you accept, you'll be led into a section of his home you don't know. It'd be a risk. Refusing, on the other hand, would allow you to remain in an environment you know and can control. Lead the way, you tell the wizard. He nods and takes you through a torch-lit hallway. You follow him until he chivalrously opens a door for you, inviting you to another room. You're trapped the second you walk through the door. You're in a torture chamber filled with machines used for the same magical experiments you had been subjected to in Balinor when you were a child. Sumai sneers, satisfied. He beats his staff to the floor, which rises in response. Stones, tiles, and bricks repeatedly hit you, stunning you.
You didn't pass my second test. I only deal with people who are on the same level as myself. Giving advantages is a mistake. Now I'll use you as my new test subject.
You faint, dropping to the ground. Waking up some hours later, you find yourself tied to a chair. Sumai's smirk towers over you. He's anxious to proceed with his foul plans, and you're subdued to him. You wake up in a tent that isn't yours. The blanket next. Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally, I was waiting for you.
He starts. You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast. I'll come with you. We'll take your daughter back. You talk with Mifford's friends and decide to leave immediately to exploit the element of surprise through the dark. We can't charge. The children would die. Wait here. You've been traveling for a while now. The sun is already high. Your journey continues with one goal: to track down the sylph community Raymond told you about. That is correct, child. Adelina sentences, smiling.
That is correct, child,
Says Kalina, smiling. You wake up late in the morning, but nobody came in to wake you. You rested well on the hay bed. The small hut hugged. Well, I have to stay and help you out in destroying the last banished wizards. We are happy to have you. You cross the T-Bosch border and ride on for several days. Your steed runs to the trees, quickly covering the distance. You take the bow from the saddle and stick some arrows in the ground in front of you. You knock the first arrow, letting it fly. You let the bow go and crouch down, ready to face the beast. As you thought, the creature jumps. It's about to pounce on you, but you... The journey was long, but simple. Despite a few rainy days, The stables are huge, surrounded by fences several feet high. My name is Ankoran. I come from Kael'Sinar and I'm here for business. Dismiss this guard and let's discuss business privately. Let's talk here now. Sumai is clever. You don't want to grant him anything.
Good. You have a personality. You know what I deal in, right?
I've heard talks. You reply vaguely. The mood is tense.
You don't look like you can spend.
He resumes. Let's negotiate first. Then, I'll take some time to decide. Finally, I'll pay. Sumai bursts into a resounding laughter.
Great remark, my dear. So, who sent you?
I'll keep that to myself until you've proven you're trustworthy. Your reply scores you yet another point. Sumai hasn't let his guard down yet, but he's carefully studying you. You'll strike as soon as he feels safe. You can't show any hint of weakness, lest you be defeated. He's a mad wizard. When he deals with someone personally, he likes to have the situation entirely under his control. Besides, he chose to be left alone with you. It's a show of strength.
What creatures are you interested in?
He's leaning on his staff with both his hands and takes one step towards you. Just one more, and he'll be within your knife's range. What do you have?
Nightmares, which are fire-breathing horses. Grey storms that are powerful and indestructible. And eagles so big you could ride them.
It's another trap. You need to guess which element Sumai relies on for his magic. Every wizard wears the colors of his element. Which is it? Eagle rides. Interesting. You thought Sumai was an air wizard, but his cloth is brown. You're completely wrong.
Traitor!
It only takes a moment. He beats his staff to the ground, and a swarm of stones thunders against your stomach and face. You're crushed to the ground, stunned.
Who sent you?
You can't answer. He's already beating you with his staff. A couple of blows to the head leaves you unconscious. Waking up some hours later, you find yourself tied to a chair. The room you're in reminds you of the one where you were turned into a sylph as a child. Sumai's smirk towers. You wake up in a tent that isn't yours. The blanket next to you is... Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally, I was waiting for you.
He starts. You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast... I'll come with you. We'll take your daughter back. His desk... You talk with Mifford's friends and decide to leave immediately to exploit the element of surprise through the darkness. The four comrades have no problem relating. We can't charge. The children would die. Wait here. I'll go. You've been traveling for a while now. The sun is already high. Your journey continues with one goal: to track down the Sylph community Raymond told you about. That is correct, child. Adelina sentences, smiling.
That is correct, child,
says Kalina, smiling. What do you know of my past? You wake up late in the morning, but nobody came in to wake you. You rested well on the hay bed. The small hut... Well, I have to stay and help you out in destroying the last banished wizards. You cross the T-Bosch border and ride on for several days. Your steed runs to the trees, quickly covering the distance. You barely made it in time. You take the bow from the saddle and stick some arrows in the ground in front of you. You knock the first arrow, letting it fly against the monster. You let the bow go and crouch down, ready to face the beast. The journey was long, but simple. Despite a few rainy days, you didn't struggle. The stables are huge, surrounded by fences several feet high. My name is Ankoran. I come from Kael'Sinar and I'm here for business. Dismiss this guard and let's discuss business privately. Let's talk here now. Sumai is clever. You don't... Well, you're wearing a brown tunic, so you must be an earth wizard. You breed gray storms. He takes one step forward. Exactly what you wanted.
Good girl. You passed this test too. Now I can trust you. I'll take you to see the wonders of my livestock.
You let him finish his sentence and smile. Then you unsheath your knife and slit his throat in one lightning-quick movement. He let his guard down for a mere moment, but that was more than enough for you to achieve your task. You support him as he slides down to the floor to avoid making too much noise. You saw off the top of his staff with your knife. You'll take it back to the Sylphs as proof of your success. Finally, you leave Sumai's house, retrieve your horse, and leave Zagama. You need to run. It won't be long before they start chasing you. You head back to the Sylphs' village, ready for your next mission. You returned to the Sylph community a few days ago, bringing the news and the proof of your success. The Sylphs were very pleased with your results, and let you rest for as long as you needed. You've killed the Earth Wizard, and now you'll have to take care of another. After T-Bosh, it's time to head to Amarantar. The elders of the Sylph community told you the next wizard they heard of is currently hiding within an ancient volcano among the Verjaldor Mountains. You gathered all your supplies, your bow, and necessary throwing weapons, and a short sword to face this man, who you presume to be a fire wizard. Your instigators don't have any object that might offer protection against magic, so you'll have to make do with your own abilities. The only other thing you're sure of is that this isn't the wizard who created you either. You might have thought it would have been your first victim, but you're growing more and more certain that Sylphs aren't created from the earth, and definitely not from fire. Your journey takes many days, and once you reach the mountains, the smoke puffing out from one of the mountaintops is unmistakable. That is the volcano where you'll find this sorcerer. You'll have to keep in mind what the elders told you. All sorcerers have finite powers. They are normally exhausted after they've cast 3 spells. You could probably use this to your advantage. You start approaching the volcano, wondering where you might find an entrance. The temperature is cold, but as you get closer to the mountain, the climate changes. You reach a point that forces you to secure your horse to a tree, as the path is becoming arduous. Finally, you find a cave and look inside. There are many holes on the side, so it's not as dark as you would have thought, and you decide to enter. As you imagined, the tunnels go down, but despite this, the light manages to still filter through, which seems quite unnatural. After walking for a while, you're shocked by what you see. You reach a crossway with a tiled floor, divided into 3 sections. Every segment has an animal drawn on the tiles, and before you step on it, you notice an inscription on the floor. The greatest warrior of our time bears its name. You have to figure out who is the greatest warrior on the whole continent, and only one name comes to mind: Daragast. But what was the name the people acclaimed him with? You observe the drawings and see a lion, a snake, and a bear. You don't know what you should expect, but you have to proceed, and you have a feeling it'd be best not to get this wrong. You correctly remembered the crowds have always praised Daragast as the snake, and walk through the image easily. You resume walking at a pace, still descending as the temperature keeps getting hotter. You fail to notice where you're walking, and suddenly you hear a click. like a contraption is ready to go off. On the wooden door in front of you, several words light up in flames, forming right before your eyes. And you read them, terrorized. It's in many places at once. It doesn't have eyes, yet it sees. It doesn't sleep, yet isn't awake. What is it? You're aware there's no turning back. You'll have to utter the right word aloud, or die, and you'd rather not imagine how. 3 possible solutions come to mind, but only one is correct. Think carefully and answer. Light! You cry out as loud as you can. You barely finish saying the word before the door opens with another click, giving way to a fully lit room in front of you. An old man is sitting on a throne, with a long white beard and a red robe down to his feet. He's holding a staff in his hands, and his shrill and tired voice welcomes you.
I knew someone would come sooner or later. Come in, child. I'm Liscos, the outcast fire wizard. And you are?
You take a step into the room, reluctantly. You didn't expect to find a person so old there. You'd say he's finished, judging by his voice. He looks wrinkled and drained of all force. But he's still a wizard. One of those same wizards who mercilessly carried out experiments on many innocent people. The sylphs want his head. You decide to answer his question anyway. He has the right to know who is about to kill him. My name is Ancoran. I've come for your head, you declare coldly. The man merely nods. He doesn't move in any other way and seems pensive. You're not gonna say anything? You ask him, upset.
What am I supposed to tell you? Many years have passed since I behaved the way I did. I've been hiding since then, solely focusing on surviving. I haven't hurt so much as a fly since then. Still, many people tracked me down to kill me, but failed. I based my defense system on people's ignorance, and so far, it has worked. But with time, I've aged, and so here we are, at the end of it all.
What do you mean to do? You ask, carefully.
Me? Nothing. I don't even know how much power I have left. I could die just performing a spell. It's been a long time since I've cast one, and my body might not be able to take it. What do you mean to do, on the other hand?
You're facing quite the dilemma. You're facing a very old man, and he seems to be speaking the truth. But can you really trust him? Besides, you can't be sure he won't try to fight back if you attack him. Could this be a trap to get your guard down? You have to decide. Should you believe him and make a deal to trick the sylphs? Or should you continue with your revenge against the wizards? After all, however old he might be, he did create new races. The only thing you're sure of is that if he's in disguise, he's extremely good at it. I don't want to kill you, old man. I won't commit a worse crime than you tell him. The man is honestly shocked. He didn't think you'd believe him, and tears start running down his cheeks.
Thank you, Ankoran.
He sighs. However, I have to bring back some proof that I've killed you to the sylphs who sent me here. You tell Lyskos? He stares deep into your eyes.
Whatever you want. I'm old. I'm just not ready to leave this world yet.
I'll need your staff and an ear, you declare. His face clouds.
I can give you the ear, but not my staff. I'd be lost without it. I couldn't live. It'd be like condemning me to death.
You know full well there's no way around it. The sylphs explicitly asked for the staff. I'm sorry, Lyskos. I need it. The old man nods.
At least leave some supplies for me.
You take your sack and leave it on the floor. Then, Lyskos throws his staff at you, taking a knife from his belt and cutting off an ear as if it were an apple. With one arcane word of power, he cauterized the wound right away. He sighs and cries.
Leave now. I don't know how long I'll live without my staff, but I'll try.
I'm sure you'll find some way, you reply as you gather your evidence, wrapping the ear in a fabric napkin, which turns red with blood.
Take care, Ankoran. May you find your peace, sooner or later.
The sorcerer dismisses you. Good luck, Lyskos. You turn and leave, hoping the sylphs won't notice what you did, even though you don't think the wizard has too long to live in his condition. One way or another, you have completed this mission as well, but your heart is getting soft. The wizard who created you won't be so lucky. Of that, you're sure. Your next target is Ariel, an air sorcerer who lives in the Arn Forest to the northeast of Kael'Sanar. According to what the sylphs told you, he isn't responsible for your creation either. They want to prepare you for your final fight with the right rage and determination you'll need to destroy your sworn enemy. You sylphs are water creatures, so of course your creator had to be a water wizard. You have contrasting feelings about your clan. Part of you thinks you're being used by them, but then again, you want your vengeance on those wizards too. What are you gonna do once you're done with them? Fortunately, you still have time to think of the answer. Ariel is hiding in a forgotten forest. Finding him won't be easy. As you enter the woods, you feel a strange tingling throughout your whole body. You stand on your guard. Danger might be lurking.
Welcome.
You turn left and right, but there's no one in sight.
Who are you?
The voice resumes in an unctuous tone. I'm Ankoran. I'm a sylph. And you are? Where are you?
My name is Ariel, but you already know that.
The wizard chuckles, and you quickly grab your bow, knocking an arrow.
My suspicions were right. You came with ill intentions. Great. I shall satisfy you right now.
Ariel declares an arcane word of power, and you soon hear wings flapping. Suddenly, a monstrous creature appears. It's no bigger than a dog, but it has the wings of a bat, the head of a lion, and is pitch black. The animal is diving down against you. You need to defend yourself. You can loose an arrow at it right away, risking it pouncing on you all the same. Or throw yourself on the ground, shooting only once it's gone over you.